Hello, Jim McCarty, student of history. This time we're standing in a field getting ready to drive down the road. I'm going to actually be sending you or telling you the story of two people that were not exactly what we've built them up to be. The two people I'm talking about is, of course, Bonnie and Clyde. We are south of Gippsland, Louisiana, and we're on Highway 154. I'm going to show you the approximation of the last of their drive before they were ambushed. Now, these two were not criminals of the sort that you could mess around with. They had already busted out of many situations where the police had them surrounded, and they'd let it be known that they were not going to be taken alive. Ambush was the only thing left to the police to do. This was not their choice. It was forced upon them by Bonnie and Clyde. Now, Bonnie and Clyde were not these great thinkers. They were not high on the rung of criminals. The only thing they had was the capacity to kill without any regret or remorse. Their bank jobs netted them an average, bank and other robberies, netted them an average of between $10 and $15. They killed many people along the way and destroyed the lives of many people. We forget that when we're talking about this romantic Bonnie and Clyde that we keep insisting happened. It wasn't that way at all. They lived out of their car. They rented flop houses in order to sleep at night, or they slept in fields out of their car. This was not a romantic situation. Most of the time they were on the run. If they weren't on the run, they were in a gun battle. If they weren't in a gun battle, they were injured. Clyde had been shot 3 times. She had been shot a couple times and burned on the leg, to where Clyde, at the end of their lives, Clyde had to pick her up and carry her from spot to spot. The truth of the story is that Bonnie and Clyde were nothing more than punk killers. They weren't great thinkers. They weren't great criminals. They were just killers. We romanticize them for some reason and make kind of an anti-hero out of them, but the truth of the matter was they ruined too many lives. I sometimes wonder if by holding people up like this, it doesn't create a situation where young people think that it's okay to be the criminal element today. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you down the drive that they took, their last drive, and kind of give you an idea of what it was like. All right, if I can get my cameraman to turn the camera off, I'll... What? You mean... Okay, camera person. Look, it's my wife. She's cheap. Okay. Wait a minute. I don't mean it that way. I mean she's inexpensive. Okay, we're going to work this out in the car on the way there. But anyway, we're going to take you down the road that Bonnie and Clyde took on their last drive. Thank you. Well, apparently what we've got here is a failure to communicate. I'm hoping that my camera person or wife is going to be coming back fairly soon. But I thought while I was here, I would tell you a little something about Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow. Just a short history, because I don't think much of them. Clyde Barrow, when he was 16, got arrested for stealing a car. And from that point on, he was in and out of prison. He wasn't really good at it. He wasn't a good hold-up man. That was what he turned to. Bonnie Parker dropped out of high school at the age of 15, a week before her 16th birthday, and she got married to a Joe Thornton. They argued back and forth for about 3 years, at which time she went back home to live with her mother, and he went to prison for armed robbery. So that kind of gives you a history of what they were like. It shows that Bonnie Parker was into the criminal scene, and it shows that Clyde Barrow was no better. He was not a genius crook. All he could do was drive a car and shoot a gun. That's all there was to them. Let's go down to take a look at some of the rest of the drive. Okay, this is the last part of the drive that they did. Coming up soon, you'll find that we come up to the ambush area itself. Methvin's truck was right up there on the crest of this first hill, blocking this side of the road. They had to veer off to the left side of the road in order to go around Methvin's truck. He had slowed down in order to find out what was going on. And as he did, the constables and sheriffs and Texas Rangers that were on the left-hand side of the road commenced firing. They started firing right about here, and the car drifted for about 50 feet down the road. This is the site where they were brought to justice. This is the area where the law enforcement officers hid. There was approximately 6 of them, and they were on that little incline up there shooting down at Bonnie and Clyde. They started their firing, and Bonnie and Clyde were approximately somewhere in this area right here, and then they continued forward that way. They were firing from that close proximity, so it would have been quite easy to hit them. So they really did do a good job on stopping Bonnie and Clyde. All right, we've talked about Bonnie and Clyde, and we've talked about how Bonnie and Clyde were not exactly the brilliant schemers of all times, but they were deadly. We forget to talk about the victims. We talk about them as though they're something great, but we forget about the victims. I want to read through some of the victims that they left behind in their wake of killing. John Bucher. He was killed on April 30th, 1932. He was the owner of a jewelry store and a pawn shop in Hillsboro, Texas. Clyde was the driver in this one, and they pretended that they needed a set of guitar strings out of his shop. At which point in time, when he got down to the shop, they held him up, and one of the men squeezed the trigger too hard. The gun went off and killed the man, all for $40 and a couple of pieces of jewelry. They killed Deputy Sheriff Eugene Moore and badly wounded Sheriff Maxwell in Atoka, Oklahoma, August 5th, 1932. Now this next one has had some suspicion thrown on it as to whether it was them or not, but they are credited with killing Doyle Johnson in Temple, Texas on December 26th, 1932, day after Christmas, while stealing his car. They killed police officer Malcolm Davis in Dallas, Texas on January 6th, 1932. In an escape where they had been surrounded, they outgunned the police and killed Detective Harry McGinnis and Constable Wes Harriman in Joplin, Missouri on April 13th, 1933. During a botched robbery, they killed the town marshal, Henry Humphrey, in Alma, Arkansas on June 26, 1933. They then decided to break their friends out of jail. So while doing that, they killed the prison guard, Major Joseph Crumson of Huntsville, Texas, on January 16, 1934. Then there was the infamous murder of the two highway patrol officers, Edward B. Wheeler and Holloway D. Murphy of Grapevine, Texas, on April 1st, 1934. An additional sadness to this was that Mr. Murphy was 23 years old, and he was going to be married on April 13th, less than 2 weeks later. Their final victim was Constable William Cal Campbell at Commerce, Oklahoma, on April 6, 1934. There are many people, like I have said, that state that it was horrible that they were ambushed in the style that they were. But I don't think that the law officers saw any alternative to stopping this crime spree, this killing spree. These were not heroes. This was not romantic. These people were cold-blooded killers. They were small-time petty thieves. They had to be brought to an end. There was no other way. I thank you for watching today, and I hope you watch some more of my films or videos as they come up. If you disagree, that's fine. Put it down. Tell me what you think. Do it in an intelligent way, not in a vicious way. But if you agree, put it down. I would like, this is supposed to be studies, so let's study. Let's find out what the truth of the matters are. If you would, tell your friends about this. Let's all get this study going. I thank you for your time.